It is great to actually not have to put pen to paper, Michael. I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed that whole process. But to be able to sit here and share with people, and those of you who have not seen Michael Doherty, there he is live in the flesh in Oxford. So we're really grateful for his heart, his prayers, and his reflection. So, Michael, we said that we were just going to ask ourselves, what do you think Advent is all about? What is this Advent season?
Yeah, I think Advent is pretty cool. You've got a preparation time and a build up toward a really, really important holiday, an essential holiday in the Christmas season in the church calendar. And it's one of those celebrations that everybody is welcome to and feels welcome to. Like people want to celebrate Christmas. I have friends who are not Christians who don't believe in Christ, but they love Christmas. And I think that's actually a really cool thing because it shows the draw, it shows the impact even of Christ on the world. And yes, that's not the totality of his message, just his coming, but just this whole inauguration thing is a huge impact, you know, across the world in time and space. And Advent is one of those things that we do in preparation for Christmas as people of faith. And so it's a wonderful tool. You have that sense of anticipation, you have that sense of thinking, you have that sense of reflecting over time, drawing closer to it. And it is more special in that way. Not that it's not super cool for people who just are, with friends and family. I think that's great too. I love the fact that it's a holiday that has impacted the world so hugely. But then you've got the 4 weeks, the 4 Sundays of Advent. And we wanted to talk about the subject of like movement in the story of Christ's birth, right? That's where we want to go
Yeah,
today.
yeah, absolutely. And I so resonate. I think from the beginning, when we were both first talking about our reflections, that excitement that it's everyone is invited and that people do feel that excitement. And even in the secular realm, and I'll just put a personal anecdote on that. For example, I was in my marriage in a Jewish tradition. And so we celebrated Hanukkah and they respected Christmas. And we certainly had the symbols of Christmas around, but it certainly was not, part and parcel of um, my wife's consciousness. And yet, when I was with my son yesterday, he was excited because they had just gotten their Christmas tree. So there they are, and all of those traditions and all that memory and all that excitement of really the joy of the season has been caught by them and in the intimacy of family and not just necessarily in that kind of secular way. So there is this movement. There's this movement of excitement. I mean, what other forms of movement do you kind of feel are happening as we go into this Advent, Christmas, whole sacred time?
Well, so the theme of movement is a big one in relationship to the readings going up to Christmas. You have the movement of Mary going to see Elizabeth. She goes on a journey into the Judean mountains to see her kinswoman, her relative, that the angel basically informs her that her kinswoman is actually pregnant, even though she's older. And that's kind of a fun story thinking about like, wow, like Mary's just going to show up and know ahead of time as a prophetess, that her kinswoman is pregnant. And so you've got, and then she goes up, and then it says she comes back. It doesn't even say she was with people. She could have been traveling alone. And then suddenly there's the tax, the census that's called for, and then Joseph and she then have to go from the north down to the south. They have to go to Bethlehem, so they journey down there, and that's where the plot thickens, right? So suddenly there's a disruption. Augustus Caesar is calling for a tax. Everyone has to go to those home cities they're born in, and so suddenly, but she's 9 months pregnant, and they've got to go, so they do in duress, and then there's no room for them in the inn, and so suddenly they're vagabonds. Suddenly you've got the mother and child, the Holy Family, in transit And but at the same time, that is the story, right? That Christ comes not in a palace, not in a temple, but in a humble stable in a town called Bethlehem, which means house of bread, and his body is then laid in a manger. Ooh, think about that. But then even soon after that, there's this warning that Joseph receives, and then boom, they have to go. We don't know exactly how long that is after the birth. It could be even like 12 months. You don't know because Herod kills every child up to a certain age. It could have been a longer period of time, not just like, short. It could have been up to a year. We don't know, but you get a sense of time passage. So they go to Egypt and then they're called back from Egypt. So the story of Christmas is a story of the Holy Family in transit, the Holy Family on the move, and Christmas. I think it's cool to incorporate that theme into Christmas, that idea. And then you think of Charles Dickens, The Christmas Carol, being kind of open to people who are in that situation, where people who are vulnerable, we are especially sensitive to at Christmas time. And that could be a correlation. It's that kind of sense of this is what the Holy Family went through, and suddenly, boom, the impact is that Christmas is a time when we are sensitive to people in that situation, about movement,
Yeah.
transition, vulnerability.
And then, it makes me also consider that, after Christmas, we have this mystery. Christ grows up, and in that process of growing up, we have the human movement of him going from a baby to a toddler to all the stages of development that are part of the human experience. And he had all of those. And the family itself had all of that. I mean, Joseph, right, is often described as the way, he's a day worker. They call him a carpenter,
Mhm.
but he's a day worker. And in his little village, there probably was only so much work. So he was on the move. Mary was on the move, probably chasing a young Jesus. We don't really have those imaginations, and not to dwell on it. But as we think about our own lives as maturation, as movements, as mystery of movements, as days forgotten and days to come, uh, there's a certain poetry there. I think that really helps us. I think to embrace Christmas as not just this one moment, but as you said, an ongoing movement into the mystery of Christ among us, Emmanuel.
And we're moving toward Christmas really soon. It's just around the corner.
Yikes!
And yeah, in a sense, it's really cool that people are joining us to reflect on Christmas. And it's been a really a great opportunity. So thank you, Terrence.
Yeah, absolutely. And we encourage everyone. This is kind of our final little bow, and we would love to get any kind of comments, little reflections, little journaling, because we'd love to be able to share that back out with folks. So any way that you'd like to do that, we'd really appreciate it. I want to personally just really extend gratitude to Michael for his mind, for his heart, and we've both prayerfully walked this journey with each other and with you. So um, may God bless you and keep you. Michael, any last final word?
Nothing except I just had a deja vu when you said that, so that's kind of cool.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Well, God bless everyone.